Hey guys, so today I'll be telling y'all of my story when I went to Malaysia. I think in the last September, and fair warning, everything is gonna be vertically because I had no intentions of making it a video, so just beware. Now, my whole trip was like for a month, and for the whole September, I was basically gonna be there, and my flight was exactly at 5:30 a.m. or like 5 a.m. I don't really remember, but I left the house at like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. because Asians love to be there early. So I arrived at the airport early, just on time, because there was basically no traffic, no nothing blocking my way because it was at midnight. There's not gonna be any traffic jam at midnight. So I arrive at the airport, go to the check-in counter, wait my wait my queue, and everything went perfectly. Then I got my ticket. Then I started going through security. Security TSA. They patted me down. They took away my shampoo for a reason. Because I thought there's not gonna be any shampoo at Malaysia, which is really dumb because it's not like a rare type of shampoo. It's basically like clear, that blue bottle shampoo. They took away from me, but I didn't care. I was looking forward for the trip. After going through TSA, they took away my shampoo bottle. And then I slowly began to walk to my gate, which I didn't really walk. I used how is it called, the straight escalator thing. And it was fun. I asked a random person to take a picture with me, which they hesitated for a moment, but, them being kind, they still took the pic. I arrived at my gate, pretty early, like 30 minutes early. But I would rather be early than late. So I sat down, I played on my phone until I heard the announcement that the flight was gonna be delayed for like an hour, which is a headache because I was really having a headache because I didn't sleep, and now I forced myself to be awake the whole day. Yes, I could have taken a nap before leaving my house, but me being excited, that was not possible. After they announced that the flight was gonna be delayed for an hour, you know, I I was having a bad time. Like, I was already sleep deprived, I was having a headache, and I thought to myself, why don't I go buy myself a cup of coffee? After I left my gate, I decided to go to Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts to buy myself a cup of coffee. But after I arrived at Starbucks, they were all closed, which I was surprised because, I thought the stalls in the airport was gonna be like open 24 hours, which it was not. After I checked every coffee shop, which they were all closed, I decided, you know what, I'll go back to my gate and I'll just sit there and wait, which I did, and it was not bad. I played on my phone and I took this really cool pic of the plane. After an hour, we finally started to board the plane. Finally. And everything went smooth. I got to my seat. The flight attendants showed us how to buckle our seatbelts for safety reasons, which I paid attention, but not too much, because I didn't really care. Now, I didn't tell you, but the plane, the airlines I was flying on was Batik Air, which is, I think, Malaysian or Indonesian company, but it was basically a budget airline. I didn't really have my expectations too high, but it was the cheapest fare out there, so I had no choice to book it, which I did. Then I got to my seat, and which was not comfortable, but it wasn't bad. I can't really set my hopes too high for a budget airline. And luckily I had the whole road to myself. Plane took off smoothly. After 2 hours, it was time for our meals. They asked us for our boarding pass, to check our names, and I had pre-ordered my meal when booking the tickets. They checked my name, they gave me my meal. It was like a chicken teriyaki thingy, and I will tell you that it was horrible. The chicken, which was kind of okay, but the rice was expired. It was horrible. Even the water, surprisingly, was salty, which I don't know how you can even fuck water up, but they did. I didn't really complain because it was still a budget airline. I'm not gonna have high expectations. Like, I'm not gonna expect them to bring out a steak for me. After I finished my meal, I basically had nothing to do, because there was no entertainment on the flight. There was no TV on the plane. The seats didn't really have a TV. So I just, I really did nothing. I just sat, tried to catch up on some sleep, which was basically impossible. So I took a video of me flying over the ocean. After 4 hours, we had finally landed at Malaysia, and then we left the plane. I went through the immigration control, which was fine, everything was okay. After leaving the airport, I was shocked at how humid it was, how hot it was. Prior to that, I did some research. I know it was a tropical country, but my god, I just left the airport and I was already sweating. For the first week of my trip, I spent my time at Penang Island, and it was really beautiful. I was really shocked at how beautiful it was. The ocean, the food, everything was beautiful. After I checked in at my hotel, I went out to check out the nightlife. It was beautiful still. It's a little bit different, because Malaysia is basically a Muslim country, and there's not gonna be a lot of bars, pubs to drink some beer, and I was pretty sure alcohol was forbidden at the local place, and so I just spent my time near the beach. Hanging out by the beach, I saw a big rock, and me being a dumbass, I decided, what, maybe I should stand on it. So I did, but I didn't realize the rock was slippery, and then when I stood on it, I fell, and my hand was fucked up, man. My fingers, my hand, my arm were all bleeding, and it was bad. On the very next day, I decided to go to the beach and, swim at the beach. But my god, dude, it was painful. I applied some plaster, some band-aid. It didn't help. The ocean water was salty, and it was like painful, stinging. It was so stinging very bad, man. Like, I wanted to enjoy my time at the beach, but it was painful. It was really painful. It was unbearable. I decided not to. I decided to ignore it, but my god, man, it was still very painful. Do not recommend. If you have any bruise or any wound, and if you decided to go to the beach, don't do it. Here's a really cool picture of me with a monkey. I politely asked him to look at the camera, but he ignored me. But you know what? I still take a selfie with him without his consent, so deal with it. For 2 weeks, I decided to visit KL, the capital of Malaysia. I decided to stay there for 2 weeks, and also just explore, visit. And I left Penang at like well, I went to KL by bus. I left Penang like 12 a.m. and it was like a 6 hour ride. So I think I arrived there at like 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. And I arrived there so early, man. Everything was still closed. And I was also sleep deprived because me being a dumbass, I booked a hotel at KL, but I didn't really, I didn't really read it properly, and I was only able to check in at 2 p.m. But I arrived there at 6 a.m. So I basically had nothing to do. I just spent my whole day there walking and carrying a backpack, which was super uncomfortable. Here's a selfie of me at the KL Twin Towers, and I do look red because I got really bad sunburn at Penang while at the beach. And my god, let me tell you, it was painful. I was carrying a backpack and it was stinging like hell. It was stinging like hell. It was painful. It was hot. Everything was fucking humid. I was sweating. Everything was closed. My hotel was only available at 2 p.m. I called them and I asked them politely if I'm able to check in earlier, but they said that was not possible because every room was filled with people. So I basically just roamed around KL. After spending some time roaming the city, roaming KL, it was finally time to check in at my hotel. So I called a taxi, and the taxi driver drove me there, and I checked in. And it was basically easy to get a hotel. Yeah, you have to basically order it from Agoda, pre-book it from Agoda. And when I got there, they checked my passport, and I checked in. And after I checked in, I went over to my room and I took a nap. And when I woke up, it's basically evening time, so I was ready. I was already ready for the nightlife at KL. So I decided to go out. I got out from a hotel. My first stop was the KL Towers, and my god, dude, it was beautiful at night. It was more beautiful at night than the day. And I hanged around there, visited some shopping malls, bought some stuff, ate at the chicken rice shop. It was nice. The rice was nice. The chicken was delightful. And then my next visit was at Bukit Bintang, and my god, let me tell you, it was filthy, dude. I don't know for why, but for some reason, the whole street smelled like piss. It smelled like piss, and it was basically like the red zone, like in Korea. It smelled like piss. There were like massage parlors. There were hookers outside asking you if you want some service. But overall, it was interesting. But my god, dude, the piss and the hot weather was fucking Well, I was, walking, minding my own business. I saw a Chinese line dance, and then I checked my phone for the calendar, and I realized it was September and Chinese New Year was basically over. And then I asked some people like what was going on, like why there are line dances in the middle of fucking September. And they basically said to me like some Chinese people are opening a restaurant, a store, and for them it was basically like good luck, which was really interesting and really beautiful to see. But my god, I will tell you, the piss around there, fucking hell. After visiting Bukit Bintang, I decided, you know what, I'm tired. I'm gonna go back to my hotel, which I did. And yeah, it was still interesting to watch Bukit Bintang at night. My god, I only wish it was a little bit cleaner. But I can't really complain too much. Very next day, I went out to buy some clothes for myself, treat myself. I went to this really cool complex called Sogo, which was recommended to me by the locals. I went to Sogo, I bought some clothes, I bought some perfume for me. I was giddy, I was excited. Yeah, it was my first time being alone at a foreign country and basically solo traveling. After a while a bit, I went to Putrajaya, uh, and I think I visited like the parliament office, like for the governments. It was really beautiful, and there was like a round thing with all the flags of the countries. It was really interesting, and I visited the mosque. It was really something, man. It was really something. Stayed at KL like for 2 weeks, and before ending my trip, I stayed at Kedah for a week and a half, before going back to Korea. And I'll tell you, Kedah was beautiful. It's more like a village place for the locals, but it was still more peaceful than KL, because I mean Kedah. They told me Kedah is like the basically like where the rice plantation is, where the local live, and I'll tell you it's more peaceful than KL, because KL is like the capital of the country, and where the tourists go there and make a fool of themselves. Here's some really cool pictures of me at Kedah. It was really something, and I ate local food called laksa, which was noodles and spices. It was like soup, but it was really tasty, and I do recommend everyone who visits Malaysia. I didn't really take a lot of pictures because I was solo traveling, and I was like kind of uncomfortable asking random people to take a picture of me every fucking second. It's a really nice thing at Kedah, just to see what the locals do and where the locals live. It was nice. I do recommend it to everyone who visits Malaysia. Spending a week and a half in Kedah, it was basically time to head back home. I was really sad, I didn't want the trip to end, because I really enjoyed my time staying there. It was really nice. The food, the people, everything was amazing, dude. I was really sad, man. I didn't want to leave. I was fucking. I almost cried on the way to the airport, which I almost did, but I'm a man. I can't cry. You won't see me cry. Yeah. Then I arrived at KLA International Airport. The check-in was smooth, everything was smooth. The only time I had problem, we all had problems, was at immigration control or passport control. I don't know why, but basically only one person was working for all the counters. The all other counters were all closed, and only one counter was working, and all the passengers, including me, were fucking mad, annoyed. It was taking our whole time. The queue, man, the queue was long, everything was long, and only one counter was working. And I'll tell you what, Malay people, they don't know how to work fucking fast. They like to take their time, which I understand, but my god, dude, only one counter was working. All the passengers were mad. Some people even missed their flights because of that. I don't know what happened that day, but I asked other people, and they basically told like some corruption shit was going on. Checked my phone. I basically waited there like for an hour. My flight was like at 10 p.m. My turn was like at 9:40 p.m. And my god, dude, I would tell you what, I was rushing, after it was my turn, they checked my passport, they stamped my passport, and I was basically fucking booking it to my gate. I was running, I was sweating. I'm not a runner, but my god, dude, You guys should have seen me running to my gate. And by miracle, I was on time. I wasn't late, but I wasn't early. I was still on time. By the time I got to my gate, they already started to board the passengers. I was relieved that I got on time and I didn't miss my flight. Strangely, the flight from Malaysia to Korea, I ordered a chicken biryani, and it was better. It was more better than the flight from Korea to Malaysia. I don't know why. Maybe it was fresh, but the biryani, man, it was nice. The water was still salty, but the biryani was nice. Basically, that was my whole trip to Malaysia. It was really nice. I was solo traveling. I really learned a lot of things. Yeah, it was nice to see other cultures, and it was nice to see the diversity. And I do recommend visiting Malaysia to everyone. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks for watching the recap of my trip to Malaysia, and I'll see you guys in the next video.